Hello everyone! This is Sorry and Target welcoming you back to another Carnivores mod showcase, where today we are taking a look at a vibrant new mod that highlights a remarkable glimpse into the insular gigantism and dwarfism of the dinosaur planet's isolated inhabitants. Carnivores Archipelagos, the Beta 1.0 release, spearheaded by the ever-talented Daubeny. Insular gigantism and dwarfism, both aspects of island syndrome, are biological phenomena where mainland animals that colonize isolated islands tend to grow into different sizes than on the mainland. Small species evolve larger bodies, and large species evolve smaller bodies, respectively. It's a phenomenon the dinosaur planet of FMM UV32 often showcases thanks to its many island-specific hunting reserves, where traditionally larger dinosaurs like Allosaurus and Spinosaurus tend to evolve smaller than their mainland Earth-based counterparts, and traditionally smaller dinosaurs like Velociraptor and Ceratosaurus tend to evolve larger. This concept has always been in the background of Carnivores lore, but has now been brought to the forefront with Carnivores Archipelagos, a mod that takes hunters to the eastern central Pelagos sector and aims to shed light on just how strange dinosaurs on isolated islands can become. So this first release of Carnivores Archipelagos has been out for a while now. Apologies as usual for taking so long to cover it. Life has been busy, but we are back and ready to talk about some Carnivores mods. So without further ado, let's begin our long overdue coverage of Carnivores Archipelagos. To start, Archipelagos drops players into a pretty traditional carnivore setup. The rich, vibrant greens of the menu's UI mirror the lush tropical plants that grow on these sea-sprayed islands, defiantly layered over their dark, rocky foundations, represented here by the gloomy, foreboding image of a Duriovenator mid-hunt. It's a simple yet effective way to convey the mod's tropical, alien, isolated feel, complete with the showcased predator's bright green eye piercing through the darkness to match the mod's eye-centric logo, all backdropped by a menu theme comprised of haunting hums and wistful whistles. This first beta release of Carnivores Archipelagos features 2 hunting reserves to track down the Pelagos sector's unique fauna, Aurora's Coast and the Tropics of D'Angelo. The free starting map, Aurora's Coast, beautifully sets the stage for Archipelagos' isolated environments, comprised of thick tropical jungles segmented by rivers of running water. The inland terrain does become more mountainous farther south, but on the whole, it's a calm, peaceful area surrounded by bright sandy beaches and crystal clear water. The thick underbrush of the jungle does make spotting smaller dinosaurs difficult, but plenty of large rocks pepper the fragmented island, providing natural vantage points for hunters to spot and stalk their prey. Open water dominates the southeastern portion of the hunting reserve, but for those brave enough to navigate the shallows in the north, Aurora's Coast offers plenty of opportunities to hunt and trap prey on its myriad of small islands. The second Archipelagos hunting reserve, the Tropics of D'Angelo, feels comfortably familiar to Aurora's Coast, yet different enough to stand on its own. Sparse, open plains and beaches dominate the coastline, creating perfect sight lines for safely observing distant targets, but very few dinosaurs wander here. Most congregate in the dark jungles looming to the northeast, where visibility is limited and animals can easily hide in the thick foliage. The tropics are much more uniform than the aquatically segmented coast. Only one large body of water engulfs the southeastern portion of the reserve, and while the spacious beaches and plains are easy to travel, it's in the ominous, foreboding jungles where the map's true test of courage and skill lies. Both of these maps nicely encapsulate that coastal island feel Archipelagos is striving for. The coast more so than the tropics, I'd say, and give off some serious Pods Travels energy from Dinosaur Planet. My only real critique with the maps is that, on a personal note, I'd like to see more island hopping with the map design. I'll elaborate more on why in a minute, but most of the map layouts are comprised of solid, mountainous jungles surrounded by impassable oceans. Pretty standard Carnivores fare. And I think by leaning into the segmented, island-hopping structure of Aurora's Coast's northern archipelago would really help the mod's map stand out and solidify that isolated, coastal island theme in a unique way. The Archipelagos Beta 1.0 features 8 huntable dinosaurs for players to track down. In keeping with the mod's theme of showcasing life in unique, isolated conditions, the Pelagos Tour's roster consists of primarily lesser-known C or D tier dinosaurs, most of which's Earth counterparts hail from the islands around Europe and are all linked together by either location, limited fossil remains, or lifestyle. Through programs like the aforementioned Dinosaur Planet and Prehistoric Planet, Rhabdodontids are pretty synonymous with remote, island-hopping lifestyles, which makes Zalmoxes an incredibly appropriate dinosaur to start the Archipelagos tour. This little ornithopod is much smaller than its distant iguanodontid cousins, but still boasts several similarities, and is currently the only creature on the tour to feature sexual dimorphism, with males boasting a bright red head for display, and females sporting more dull coloration for perfect camouflage. The little herbivores can hide well in the thick undergrowth, and will sometimes travel in groups for protection, including tagging along with the likes of Telmatosaurus, a smaller relative of the central sector's vocal Parasaurolophus, that also travels together in groups and communicate to each other with their distinctive, warbled hoots and honks. One of the strangest dinosaurs on the tour is the Camaryllosaurus, a harmless relative of the central sector's Spinosaurus that lacks a sail but boasts a bright blue mouth designed for catching and swallowing fish. Not quite as harmless as the Camaryllosaurus is the elusive Balor, a basal relative of FMM's other raptorid species that sports 2 sickle claws on each foot instead of the usual 1. Unlike most FMM raptors, however, Balor are solitary, and even a little skittish depending on the time of day. In sharp contrast to the western central sector's Ankylosaurus, Archipelagos' Struthiosaurus is a fearsome sight to behold. A tanky, aggressive weapon of a herbivore, armed with scoots and spikes and intimidating red eyes to top it all off. Even though it's slow, Struthiosaurus will not hesitate to charge down anything that gets too close, as will the absurd-looking Echinodon, a hyper-aggressive herbivore that uses its grisly tusks to shear bark off of trees, dig up roots from the ground, or gouge out the innards of careless hunters. The most common predator in the Archipelagos is the basal megalosaurid Duriovenator, the apparent poster boy of the mod, a smaller, tropical cousin to the Triasic's apex behemoth. Although not enormous, it is fast and will sometimes travel in pairs, which is necessary for hunting down some of the larger prey that live among the Archipelagos, like Magyarosaurus, a highly aggressive and armored sauropod. Sauropods and their ilk come in a wide range of sizes on the dinosaur planet, from the massive Brontosaurus to the tiny Massospondylus. And although Magyarosaurus may be the largest animal in the archipelago, it weighs in at the smaller end of the scale for FMM sauropods. Despite its smaller size, it is still a formidable beast, and will happily crush any hunter foolish enough to disturb it. This is a fantastically cohesive roster of island-based dinosaurs, and one that nicely takes advantage of the MEE's variety with some sexual dimorphism and grouping behavior, features I hope to see expanded upon as the dinosaur roster grows. It's a roster comprised primarily of unique herbivores, the Struthiosaurus and Magyarosaurus being my favorites of the bunch, and 2 of the mod's predators, Camaryllosaurus and Balor, are set to receive some visual updates in the next beta, which looks spectacular, with the Balor in particular scheduled to feature sexual dimorphism, an always exciting revelation. Now, as interesting as the hunting roster is, what really sparks my interest in the Pelagos sector are the ambient creatures, a topic I hope to see fleshed out in future releases. Likely due to the looming threat of a certain well-known island based as Darkid, there are no pterosaurs flying in the sky, but there is a large island-specific species of Dimetrodon that roams the coastlines. A fairly limited ambient population, admittedly. However, there are 6 different variants of Thecodontosaurus, a basal sauropodomorph, that can be found scurrying amongst the undergrowth. 3 brightly colored tropical variants that thrive in the jungles of Aurora's coast, and 3 darker color variants that roam the plains of the tropics. Now, I'm not sure if the variants on each island are intended to be sexual dimorphism, or growth stages, or just random variation between individuals, but it is interesting to see so much diversity given to the most populous ambient island inhabitant. Where I think Archipelagos really has a chance to shine, though, is in the aquatic life. The mod already features some dazzling seafaring reptiles, like this beautiful Panoniosaurus. But this is where I think Archipelagos' map design can be pushed further to more intentionally incorporate island hopping. Because the gameplay of Carnivores already revolves around hunting dinosaurs on islands, most mods are forced to drop their aquatic creatures out on the fringes of the hunting zones. Now, perhaps players will stumble upon them, but typically you have to go out of your way to the edges of the map, away from the action, to find the marine creatures. But because so much of its central theme is based around crossing water, Archipelagos has a chance to remedy that by incorporating more streams, rivers, or estuaries to break up the islands and allow players to naturally experience the aquatic life. I would never have known that schools of hatchling Platycarpus thrive in the safety of the shallows between the islands, while the adults patrol the open oceans if Aurora's coast hadn't forced me to cross water in search of my prey. And this is what I'd love to see more of. More places where the water divides the land and shows off the outstanding aquatic life the mod has to offer. These marine creatures are beautiful, and I know a lot of work goes into designing them and animating them and incorporating them into the world. And I'd hate to have players miss out on seeing them because they never have to go near the water. If the dinosaurs have to island hop to survive here, then so should we. Admittedly, the Archipelagos' early game grind starts off very rough. Zalmoxes are difficult to hit in the thick undergrowth and provide almost no points per takedown. Telmatosaurus are incredibly tanky outside their mortal zones, and the Camaryllosaurus and Ballure are both a little too skittish for medium range encounters, which is unfortunate given Archipelagos' weapon lineup. The tour currently offers 4 firearms for its clientele: a sidearm pistol equipped with a silencer, an old-fashioned lever-action rifle, a fast-firing pump-action shotgun, and a trusty scoped rifle. While each weapon is well-designed and fun to use as intended, save the slightly awkward iron sights on the pump-action shotgun, the mod doesn't quite present them in a way for players to use them as intended until you have them all unlocked. Players will start with the sidearm pistol, and while the silencer, rapid fire rate, and high ammo count are welcome, it can be frustratingly difficult to try and hit the early game dinosaurs in the thick underbrush with this firearm. However, Archipelagos rewards the diligent, and by the time the marksman rifle is unlocked to hunt the late game dinosaurs, the point flow comes in much easier, and the mod becomes incredibly fun. Ultimately guys, Carnivores Archipelagos is shaping up to be a beautiful addition to the rich, ever-expanding Carnivores mythos. It's a mod that rewards dedicated players with beautiful sights, gorgeous creatures, and fun weapons. And if you want to check it out for yourselves, there will be a link to its ModDB download page in the description below, as well as the Beta 1.1 dev blog, where you can read about what's coming next for Archipelagos. Alright, so there you go guys. Those are my thoughts on Carnivores Archipelagos. Now I want to hear from you guys. What do you think of Archipelagos? What's your favorite dinosaur to hunt, or your favorite map to hunt on? And what do you hope to see from the future of Archipelagos? Be sure to let me know down in the comment section below. Thanks as always for watching, guys. You are all truly the best, and I will see you guys next time.